Love. Yeah, it's early, man. It's October 11th, Friday, right? And I just wanted to jump on a few things I wanted to address about this whole. Listen, I'm like late in the game though, for real, because of the fact that I didn't have all this going on during the Kendrick Lamar Drake situation. But as it has been progressing for a few months now, because we're talking about the beef started heating up around like, oh man, I'm gonna just throw a month out there that when I first caught the whole thing. I would say it was probably like around May, June, where it really started to heat up. And like I said, we talking about 4 months in, 4 months in on the whole, exchange, the beef. So okay, so a lot has been going on. A lot has been going on between them two. Um, a lot also has been surrounding Drake. It's been a lot going on around him. Kendrick as well. You know what I mean? I would say that it was a lot more of uh, a lot of misses with Drake, a lot of hit and misses. Um, Kendrick, it was more like some most of the narratives were were spun so much around Kendrick Lamar that it was like people practically making up things and giving their own takes and making their own perspectives on such things. And that's to salute all that's in this same space as well, because it's a few people that I like that do the breakdowns and address this topic. So like salute to them. It's so many of y'all to name, and of course, I'm gonna name drop a lot of like my favorite DIYers. Well, I get that from Curtis. I get that from Curtis King. Shout outs to him. And chilling with Monet. I know I was checking something out with them two on a vid earlier this morning. And I guess if you want to say that, the whole podcast vlogger space that we're in. Because I could say we, because, I'm also sharing this space with some astounding people, especially those two that I just mentioned. Even though Curtis King, I've been following him for quite some time, but checking out a lot of his stuff and chilling with Monet. I just got introduced to her, but I like her breakdowns. But nonetheless, a lot of those folks. I mean, there's so many people in the name: Screwface Gene, Big Zo TV. Um, oh my goodness, it's so many folks, man, and it's these folks that I just need to give a nod to because they're the reason why I'm so glued to this topic, even though I don't really want to share much about it because it's so widespread and it's widely being addressed by so many different people. I mean, everybody wants in on this whole thing, and you know, I'm definitely like kicking myself because I could have got in on this monetizing part of it when I could have got in on that, when the whole thing was heating up. But what am I talking about here? What am I really trying to address? Well, J. Cole. So J. Cole, if you don't know, when when him and Drake dropped what was that first person shooter, when they dropped that, they both was on the track together. So when they both was on there, it was seemingly because now it seems, well, Drake was cool, real cool with Kendrick, and then which I didn't understand that whole thing, but it's like you playing both sides of the fence here, right? And then he became good friends with Drake. But nonetheless, I mean, you as an artist, you can collaborate with whomever you want to, right? But then again, I don't know. Like, there's things that we probably don't know what may have transpired between him and his so-called both best friends, right? Because he was supposedly had been friends with both. And how I know this about J. Cole and Kendrick is because I know like I caught Kendrick earlier on in his career, like when he was rhyming and he was with the whole Black Wall Street collective, and his first album, what was that, John? Section 80, section point 880 or something like that, where I first heard him on that joint. And I think J. Cole did some production on a few joints for Kendrick. So, he lent his production talent as far as on a few of Kendrick's records. So I mean, that's where I know that their friendship stemmed from that. Their friendship stemmed from them two collaborating with each other on music, whether it was feature or whether it was a feature or features, or whether it was production, and or when he may even had lent his executive production, like being behind the scenes, like with Kendrick's career, like basically. But his claims of he founded Kendrick or whatever the case, or he told like every okay. I know I'm like going all over the place with this, but I just really want to also say too that what what be going on in the industry is a lot of clout chasing, but then also what be going on also is people wanting to take the credit for something that has been already done. So, I mean, what I did here, even in between all of this, was that okay? J. Cole was, I don't know why this even surfaced or whatever, but I guess it was because questions were around friendships. Because, like I said, just what I just brought up about Kendrick and J. Cole being real cool with each other, right? And so I guess the topic came up that J. Cole, was I forget where he was on, like where he even addressed this at first, because I know it surfaced. Like, you open up your phone, you see a topic of sorts or something. And I opened it up and it said something about J. Cole claiming, making claims that he had, I guess, founded Kendrick Lamar, or he told Dr. Dre about Kendrick Lamar or something like that. But I'm like, I mean, you might have brought his name up to Dr. Dre, but it's not like Dr. Dre don't know who Kendrick Lamar is at this point, right? I mean, he is from LA. Dr. Dre's from LA. You don't think Dr. Dre is plugged into who's who and who's what in his hometown? So, I started to raise some questions. I mean, it raised eyebrows for me when I first heard that, because I'm like, okay, well, hmm, you saying that you're responsible for Kendrick Lamar's career, or basically that's what you're trying to get at. So I had a little question. I had a lot of questions around that, because I'm like, that's kind of wild. Like, you would say that, but however, nonetheless, That's what he said. It's not like Kendrick, addressed that or anything like that. I think a lot of things Kendrick just didn't give much energy to. Also, he didn't give a lot of energy to things. So I think he just um, some things he just left alone or didn't even address. I think it was a matter of not. I mean, shoot, he would have eventually addressed J. Cole because during first person shooter, like I said, there was a line in there where, the big three line. I guess I'm not even sure if both of them didn't like that or whatever, but it did raise definitely raise some eyebrows when he was on that like that record because that was his response to first person shooter. I mean, all of a sudden, and we're doing a bit of fast forwarding, right? So now Drake and J. Cole are cool. What I mean? They're good, I guess, right? Them two collaborating with each other. Like I don't even know if this was even their first record, but it's like they're collaborating with each other. So, okay. So them two on a record together and this whole claims of the throne and who's who's the big three and all this. So it was all those questions around that, right? So okay, so now you got the questions of who's who's the top three, who's those ones to watch out for and stuff like that. Kendrick responded with, I don't care about you. I don't care about being the top three or big three or whatever. I'm just big me. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was a lot more that he said in that like that record, but just to bring you up to speed. Um, yeah, I mean, he addressed that. He said what he said, and he pretty much it pretty much didn't sit well with both. I believe it really didn't sit well with Drake. Just like with the control verse, like him being so butthurt over that. He was just really like not, he was in his feelings when that control verse, when that surfaced. He was the only one really, he was the only one really that was more like, he was the only one really that was, yeah, like that felt some kind of way about this whole thing. So it was like, okay, the control verse that happened, Drake wanted to brush it off like, oh, it was just a moment, whatever. He just wanted to brush it off as that. Um, if we're going to fast forward a little bit more, um, man, um, there was some bit of shots. I mean, I don't know if this was after J. Cole dropped 7 Minute Drill, because remember that happened too. And there was a lot that he addressed to Kendrick, you know, questioning his album selection, like his whole catalog. He your first one was a classic, and all this saying all this stuff. Your first, but your other one was tragic. Speaking about the Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers album. So it was like, of course, us K Dot fans, because I like to consider myself a Kendrick Lamar fan. I was really like taken aback by that. Like, whoa, J. Cole, dude, you don't even have. Honestly, if we want to really get technical, like your catalog is the one that's really in question here, and I don't think that you even move the units or the numbers like both of these guys combined. And that's not to give no nod to Drake because, like I said, I'm not hung up on Drake's music at all. It doesn't really move me. Um, that I gravitate towards Kendrick because more of his music is what resonates with me. More of what he's even saying, his message, even what he's even saying is what resonates with me. So I'm sold on that. I can take or leave J. Cole. Kendrick, I mean, he's right now. If let's say if like okay, if how old would I be? Let me see. Like let's say I'm well, first of all, this generation, like let's say if I'm in my late 20s, right? This would be considered my Nas of this time. Kendrick Lamar would be more like my Nas. And me being a 42-year-old man, I look at Kendrick Lamar still as my guy. Like honestly, like I respect the hell out of Kendrick. I like what he stands. I love what he stands for. Not just like. I love what Kendrick Lamar stands for. Yeah, I love what he stands for. So of course, everything that he's saying, like as far as like even with hip hop and then lyricism of that sort. He he has a quality message. He says what needs to be said on record, and he has a unique approach to his music. I mean, if we want to consider him a simple kid, like he named his album "Good Kid in a Mad City." I mean, but his story is nothing. His story is nothing short of. His story is nothing short of simple, right? I can go into a storyline all day, but okay, so we're going to fast forward some more. And here's where we're going to really get at. I want to really get at because like I said, there's a lot that has been happening, but like I said, I'm not about to like catch people up to speed on everything because at this point, everything is out there. It's all out there. That's why I didn't even really want to touch on this subject at all. But because, like, J. Cole, he dropped a new song called Port Antonio. He dropped the joint, new song. The new song is supposed to really address this whole because, like I said, they're still dragging it out. It's like he's what he's more addressing about is his relationship, his friendships with both artists. And on the record, it seems like he's more so defending, or he's more so have to explain more of his friendship with Drake than actually addressing allegations and things that's out there about him. Because right now we see Drake like actually spiraling all over the place. Like, I mean, I don't know if all over the net if stuff is being dragged or spun around to the point where it's like so way out of control. But I mean, if we're talking about the top five situation, if we're talking about that, if we're talking about because that's even crazy too. That whole top five thing. I'm like really like trying to figure that one out. But like I'm not getting all too wrapped up in that either because again, those things all within itself is incredibly out of whack. We literally have people that we literally have people who again, when we're talking about clout chasing, wanting to be next to someone because they're super famous or something like that, and that's literally what's going on, right? That's literally what's going on. I mean, I am not at all surprised at I'm not at all surprised that we're even still people are still even talking about this subject because the whole Kendrick Lamar and Drake thing has really been taken off. I mean, at the time I was like, sick in bed. I'm up while being sick. I'm like up. I'm up and I'm staying up like cuz I'm so glued and wrapped wrapped up on this whole thing. So I'm like, man, this is really phenomenal. Like something monumental is going on here, and while I'm sick, while I'm sick and like I'm bedridden and stuff like that, and I'm sitting here glued to this whole exchange going on. All right, so again, here goes. I mean, Port Antonio, right? J. Cole. I've listened to the record. I've just probably finished listening to the record actually this morning because like I'm like in between. I mean, I couldn't even. Who am I listening to right now? Some great local artists. You know what I mean, and listening to Nas and Wu. Music that I grew up on. Listening to all of that. Maybe Kendrick, a little Kendrick here and there or something like that. And I've made me a J. Cole playlist. I have, but I mean, like I said, J. Cole, I could take or leave. I could, but he does have a lot of good records. He does have a lot of good songs. He's an amazing lyricist. He's an amazing and talented storyteller. I'm not gonna take that from that guy at all. He's amazing. It's just that I don't know. Like I guess he didn't captivate me. I mean, I'm gonna say it this way. I would stomach Kendrick as well as I would stomach J. Cole versus stomaching Drake. Because the first time I heard Drake, I'm looking at like like what is this name? Who calls themselves Drake? Like what is this? Pop. I don't know what's first. I don't know which song I heard first or whatever because I think I got two of his mixtapes or something like that, and I was like, nah, this doesn't do it for me. His style don't do it for me. It doesn't. For me, and this is real talk, and this is before all of this nonsense. So I'm not making some kind of take and spinning something or making something up here. I, this is the first thing I thought, and Drake is literally one of those people I don't care for, to be honest with you. I didn't care for him from the beginning. But I try to give, the record a chance or whatever, and it just didn't do it for me. And this is not about like who yeah, it's not about all of that. What I'm just more so saying here is that like with J. Cole, I've listened to like his Mike Delete Later. I think that's the name of the record. Crocodile Tears is on there. I think that was a favorite joint of mine. That 7 Minute Drill was on there. It was a couple other joints. I know what's that song? Pie featuring Daylight and Ab Soul. That stuck out to me. But that 7 Minute Drill when he dropped that, and that was like really taking like inflammatory shots at Kendrick all day. I'm like, whoa, he's taking shots. He's like really going in, and he's really like much in his feelings. But then this brings me back to that record, and this is why I brought that up because we may not know what might have transpired between him and Kendrick, or is it just pure hating? Because if you're around somebody who's been hating all along on a certain someone, like of course I'm going to name names here, Drake. He's been hating on Kendrick for as long as as long as any of us can remember. Taking subliminal shots at my guy, all that stuff. But no one addresses those things. No one addresses, how he moves as an undercover friend, so to speak, or whatever. The misnomer that he is a real one or whatever like that. You're never allowed to say that in the same breath as Drake. And I think that if J. Cole is friends with Kendrick also, and with this new record, you want to address that. but you're not addressing the fact that also too, let's take it back to first person shooter. You didn't address that because there was something that was put out there about Drake deliberately leaving Kendrick off of that record because it actually was supposed to be all three of them on that record. That's what I'm hearing. Like I said, I shout out to all those that's in this same space that I'm, the same space that I'm in because there's countless of them, podcasters, DIYers. Shout outs to Curtis King again, like I said. I get that from him. Everyone that's out there that's been following this whole thing, they've been following it. And quite frankly, you I mean, you don't you're not going to address that. There's a lot of things to address. And when you hear this new record, Port Antonio, when you hear it, because I'm sure y'all heard it already. I don't need to play it. It's actually too early to play anything. I'm not going to play music. Not at all. I wouldn't do that. I don't want to wake my neighbors up. But however, you play, you're on this record and you're pleading. It seems as though you're straddling in between or trying to plead the case that because we do know that you apologized. You didn't want to enter into the whole thing. I think that Kendrick and J.Cole, that would have really been a lyrical grudge match. I would have loved to see that. I think that I spoke to someone about this, a coworker about this too. And she was telling me, she was like, yeah, I would have loved to see J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar going at it with each other. Because it would have been like more lyrical, if anything. You know what I'm saying? We would have got a lyrical match with that. Of course, she's citing what Jill Scott, the lovely Jill Scott has said about this whole thing. Because she even chimed in on it. So my coworker, we was talking about it, and she said, yeah, that's what she's seen that Jill Scott, she was actually going, talking about it because actually there was during the whole Kendrick Drake thing, also too, people were also wondering, well, what does J. Cole got to say about this or blah blah blah? Because once that record had dropped, or that response to first person shooter, that's when it was like, oh boy, here we about to see a renaissance happening here. Drake and J. Cole seem to be siding with each other. You got Kendrick on Future and Metro Boomin's track, so it just looks like it's about to be a free for all. And so, if Drake gets taken out, which we all thought that was going to happen, that Drake was going to get taken out first, and then it was going to leave J. Cole to be the one to have to step in. And really, they both was actually, like I said, it was on after that. After first person shooter, and then like that, it was already on. Nobody would imagine that J. Cole would get on stage and then make a formal apology. As a grown man, is it admirable? Do I respect that? I respect that as a mature man. Of course I do. I respect that. But this is hip hop. And that's where I'm going to get at with that. This is hip hop music. And as long as I can remember, since LL Cool J and Kool Moe Dee, yes, that did happen. Those exchangements between LL Cool J and Kool Moe Dee, exchangements between MC Shan and KRS-One, those exchange. I mean, shoot, there was so many. There was so many. But we gonna skim through the periods here. Nas and Jay Z, 50 Cent and Ja Rule. You see what I'm getting at here? Now we have Drake and Kendrick Lamar. It's still being talked about, by the way. It's almost like it's almost like people want this thing to go on, but it's hip hop. Let me go back to my point. I I admire and I respect that J.Cole apologized because I don't know, man. It's kind of weird too because it was like, okay, wait a minute. It actually is weird, but let me just throw this out there. That okay, he apologized. He did that. That threw us for a loop. Did not expect that to happen at all. Did not expect that to happen. For him to do that. Because sure, he was getting all kinds of all kinds of hate for that. Shoot, even I was like low key, like, yo, man, like that's some sucker stuff, man. Man, what? You man. Because we wanted to see J. Cole and Kendrick really go at it. We wanted to see a lyrical battle of let me put it this way. Some of y'all may be Drake fans, and it's cool and all that. That's y'all. Dude don't do it for me. Lyrically, did he hold his own? I mean, his style, his voice, his style, everything about that, it just ain't doing it for me. It's not doing it for me. Okay, and I'm gonna be real honest. I'm gonna be real frank here. His style, corny. All right, it's corny. It's corny. And then when we know about his upbringing and all that stuff like that, it's like, dude, because I'm gonna get into that. His whole upbringing and how he changed his whole. Well, no, let me get into that now because we're actually talking about J. Cole. But let me get into the whole upbringing. Drake being tough and all this other stuff, and now he's taking on a whole nother persona as he's this thug and gangster now. The whole top five situation, all this stuff. And I mean, it's so many things, man, that's out there about dude. Dude gotta feel some kind of way. I mean, shoot, the latest is, Drake's on stage playing a Beyonce song after he sitting there giving his whole speech about fake friends. And he's all the while is the fake friend that he's talking about. Drake is the fake friend that he's talking about. Like, are you serious? He's the fake friend. But anyway, going back to J. Cole, if you knew these things, if this was your homie, speaking about Jake the Kendrick, if that was your homie, and I don't know. I don't know if because like I said, this is what I heard, that he was left off a first person shooter. And I think Kendrick says something about that. But of course, like a true MC, sometimes they may speak in some kind of code or speak in a way where the person that they're addressing the record to understands. They understand it. It's not for everybody else to understand as long as they understand it. And so that's what was going on. That exchange between them both was more so heating up because now at this point you're agitating the brother. Well, the fact that you okay, so Drake going in, dropping his records and all that stuff like that, calling the guy outside, pretty much he's the one that started the whole thing. And it's beyond me where a lot of fans per se are not seeing this. I always I see things for real. Like I see with real lenses. I don't never, spin stuff and all that, whatever. I mean, if it's something I don't know, I don't know it. Like personally, I don't know any of these people. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like everybody else. I'm a fan. I'm a fan as well. So for me, we just on the outside looking in, or we're speculating, or we're drawing our conclusions, or what have you. You know what I'm saying? The Port Antonio record, it sounded like him more so pleading about this whole thing. That's what it sounded like to me. Sound like him more so he addressed the battle, but he didn't really address the battle. He didn't really. If you're friends with somebody, you're gonna really tell them the truth, or you're gonna grill them. You're gonna grind them up. If you're a true friend, you're gonna grind your friend up. Yo, what's up with that, man? Yo, what's up with all this stuff going on about you out there, man? Like, what's up, man? Talk to me. Yeah. Because just as much as your reputation is on the line too. And you're guilty by association. So when you're associating with someone who's moving kind of weird, and kind of, they moving weird, they moving a little, yeah, like that's the only word I can bring up to explain that situation though, because it's all weird. Drake's situation is all weird, and the way he moves. But we do know that because I brought up the whole upbringing, earlier. It's because of that. It's because of that he has no street smarts. He has no common. Drake doesn't have any common. But again, this is not about Drake, right? This is about J.Cole. And I think that J.Cole should know this. And if you're straddling in between, because I'm sure if these are friends, some internal stuff about both of them. Sure you do, right? I'm sure you know some internal stuff about both of your best friends, or so-called they're your best friends. I'm sure you know some internal things. So why not, address the elephants in the room? Like you're doing this whole doubling back, like you're pleading, you're trying to defend your friendship. I don't think that you really need to be doing that. If anything, you could have just not said nothing at all. I love the record. Don't get it twisted. The beat selection, the instrumentation, and all of that. Like it was dope. I love it. I love the record. But you could have left some things out of there. You could have left some things out of there because I think that J. Cole is actually exit the chat. No one's talking about J. Cole. I'm not going to say that no one's talking about J. Cole being at their top 5 or top 10 or whatever. I can't say that. But I think that with you doing all of this right now, I think that you could have. The fact that he was talking about the apology and everything like that, like I said, I respect my man for that. As a mature man, as a grown man, as someone who is going to hold himself accountable for some things, and he wants to wrong some rights. I'm sorry, right some wrongs. Right some wrongs, right? Then I don't know. Should you even say anything? I mean, to be honest with you, I don't even think if I don't have skin in the game, if I'm not really built for that, or if I don't really want to get into that, I'm not going to get into it. I'm just gonna leave that alone. That was the whole point of why you apologize, right? Right, Cole? You apologize because and you can't say that he's not built for it because lyrically, I think J. Cole got it. But I just feel like you not addressing certain things about your so-called best friend, knowing that your best friend is moving like is moving like a snake and all that, and knowing that you're also too, yeah, it's a lot. And there's stuff that's being thrown out there about him being used, and they time was up. Drake don't trust. Drake has a nerve to not trust nobody. He has a nerve to even say that. People can't trust you. I don't think that people are actually taking taking this whole thing and looking at the narrative the way that they supposed to be looking at it, because they want to spin stuff and they want to like base things off of baseless claims. I mean, look, Bull just moves funny. And I think that, if you know that, I would have, if I'm a friend, like, this is everyday life though, for real, for real. We have our homies, we have our friends, or we have our associates and acquaintances. If they're real, if they're authentic or anything of that sort, wouldn't they address, wouldn't they wouldn't they grill you about, yo, what's this I'm hearing? You know what I mean? Like, I think that somebody that cares would do that. And even if you think this not your place though, or whatever, but you're still you're friends with the person. You're friends with them, right? That's on both sides. I mean, shoot. I mean, but for him, I just think like it was a pretty good record and everything like that. I feel like it was a pretty good record, but I feel like, did he really need to even say anything about that furthermore? I don't think that he really even need to say anything. He should have really addressed a lot of things on Kendrick's behalf. I feel like I really should like it. I really feel like he should have. I think that yes, you were choosing sides. Cole was choosing sides. He was. Sometimes your words is not enough. I mean, when somebody says something, they say something, right? Because a person could tell you one thing and then tell you another. You know what speaks more volumes? What speaks more volumes to me? It's a person's action. That's what speaks more volume to me. Is a person's action. Yep. That's what speaks more volumes to me. There's a lot of things that J. Cole was doing, even during this whole thing. His little period of reflection, and him butting out of the beef. Because I mean, that apology was distinctly for that. You want to know what my wild take is? My wild take is this. I think J. Cole like set that all up. I mean, if I want to really like get into this whole thing, I would say that yeah, that's what I think happened. That's absolutely what I think happened. J. Cole set this up from the jump. They all probably could be on it. Probably is one big happy threesome between them all. My wild take. No Diddy, right? Because anyway, we not doing that. We not doing that no Diddy pause crap. It's just them three. They're all supposed to be one big, bromance, brotherhood, right? That's what it was supposed to be until one person decided they wanted to pull a snake move and leave a certain someone off of a record. That exit again. This is not that. This is not something that I know for sure. This is not coming from me. This is pretty much what I'm following on all the other spaces, whether it's a YouTube or whether they on Discord or Kick or wherever they at, Patreon, whatever. This is what I'm following on, with everyone that's in the same space. That, I don't know. I have no idea. Could it be that? Could it be that they knew this all along and they were setting this all up to be what it is today? This, I don't know. But what I do know is that I'm not gonna say that J. Cole was on some suckers. Try not to curse here. Try not to, do too much of that. But I'm not gonna say that. I think that he, of course, like trying to be a true to life brother. He is one of those ones who didn't compromise himself. I mean, you see how he moves out here. Or whatever. Again, I don't know the man personally, so I can't really sit here and say, oh, yeah. I don't know him personally to really know how he really is. But just seeing his example, again, being fans and, us being on the outside looking in or seeing them, um, you know, firsthand, us seeing them. They're always in the limelight. They're always in the public's eye. If we see J. Cole riding his bike down um, Broadway or something like that, or he's somewhere, it's almost as similar to like where you see Andre 3000 popping up with his flute everywhere. Yeah, he at random he's popping. He's popping out with his flute. That's how the whole J. Cole, the whole Where's Waldo type of thing. I don't know what you would call that per se, but let's just go with the whole Where's Waldo aesthetic. J. Cole, the way he's moving more like he's just a regular guy or whatever like that. And actually, the dude, the guy is worth a couple million. Not bad for a guy that just wants to live simple and plain, right? That's what it is. Person enjoys their accolades. They do what they want with it. That's why I like that. Well, there you go. I'm sort of like a privatized person myself. I'm sort of like a person that stays to himself. You wouldn't even know how much is in my bank account because I might not even wear it. I might not wear those things. I'm not like put myself all out there or whatever like that. Just be low key. That's why I gravitate towards a J. Cole and a Kendrick Lamar because they are men of morals and values and integrity. I mean, again, I don't know them personally, but I could just tell by their morals. First of all, you can listen to a lot of their music. Yes, There was some secular, lyrics in Kendrick stuff or whatever. A part of being, especially when you in hip hop, that's what's going to be a part of it. That's why, like, I like to catch myself a lot of times and not say an expletive or two, because I'm trying to instill discipline here, and it's hard. It's hard to like eating right and getting into tip top shape and all that. You know what I'm saying? Discipline on every level. Like the main problem of what us men have is not lusting after women, and doing that. But back to the subject at hand. Yes, Cole dropped the Port Antonio record. The Port Antonio record, to me, the messaging there, I'm still trying to follow it. I'm still trying to follow his messaging. I'm still trying to get at what's really the point. Pretty much. I mean, we could skip all of this explanation stuff. We can skip all of that and go right straight to what was the point? What was the point, Cole? Pretty much. What was the point? Sure, someone can chime in and give me an explanation on what was actually the point, but I just don't really see what the point was. I really didn't, because you already apologized. You did that already. So, what do you want to apologize again? What you want to explain why you don't really have to explain to anybody why you did what you did. I mean, if you just want people to have more of a clear understanding that why you apologize in the first place, because I'm on my eat, pray, love mission, and then I just don't want to be caught up in the whole warfare thing. Well, all right, but we kind of sort of like gathered that when you was on stage. What we caught you was on stage and you said all that. Like, what was the point? Why did you even have to address anything? I think you have to address something because you see that there is space. You see that there's some little space now for you to create a lane now. I think that that's what's going on. You're using your creative space, which is nothing wrong with that, which is nothing wrong with J. Cole using this opportunity to create the lane for himself now, because he is in the conversation. He still is. It's just that you have people that are admirable of his maturity and you have people that were disgusted with his maturity. I don't know why, but again, people wanted to see blood. They wanted to see him tearing through some flesh. They wanted to see all that. Well, J. Cole said, well, nah, because I knew where it was going to go. There we go. That's what, and that's going back to what I'm saying. Did he know this whole time? Did he know? That's why I'm making that wild claim and making that wild take that, well, let me see. You knew this. I don't know. It sounded like you set it up. Because maybe you did know about Drake on purpose, not what was it? He was supposed to have sent the link or to the song itself or something because it was already prepped up or whatever. What he deliberately didn't send it to him or didn't send a text or didn't call him about it or whatever may have transpired in the making of first person shooter. It's put out there that Drake left him off of that joint. And who knows if they both was in on it? Maybe maybe J. Cole knew that did happen. And maybe he said, you know what? Nah, bro, go in on it. Because I think that if J. Cole did not apologize, it would have been J. Cole and Kendrick. I'm just saying. I think it was a chess move that was being played here. Here we go. There was a chess move. This is chess, not checkers. I don't know if you can see it. I don't know if you can see the chessboard behind me, but yeah, this is chess, not checkers. I'm not sure. Maybe it was a chess move because you. I'm just saying, it's some stuff that you do. Now here we are. Here we are. I mean, I don't see this whole thing as exhausting. I really just see it as it's just it's a lot that a lot of us can learn from all of this actually because art imitates real life. So if art imitates real life, then what we're actually looking at here is that there's some things we need to assess, not just about ourselves, but with definitely with other people that's around. Well, you're going to come back to assessing yourself as well, but you have to also assess the people that's around you because you definitely don't want nobody moving all funny in your circle either. And I think that that's why when you hear a record like Port Antonio and you hearing J. Cole on it speaking about his love for his best friends, and it sounds like you're just straddling in between the fences, like you're just one other person. If they wasn't really looking at it too deep, they will probably see say that, oh man, this dude is clout chasing. Man, he just trying to, like, yeah, because he linked with this one and that one. So one could probably look at it that way. But does he actually really need to do that? Nah. I think that what's going on here is that J. Cole is figuring out he's got the lane now. Or I guess he thinks he has the lane. They both know what Kendrick Lamar is capable of now. I'm sure of that. I mean, he's riding high off of success all day. Like this dude, it just doesn't stop with this guy. And why should it stop? It's amazing to see Kendrick Lamar on this successful run that he's on. Drake Cole, I mean, not I said Drake Cole, right? Wow. Drake, on the other hand, it's like, man, this stuff is really surprising. Music is not like hitting the same as it was. His music, like he's supposed to had this hot summer and all that, and that didn't even happen. I mean, bruh is like spiraling out of control now. And then, even on top of that, he even tried to spin the narrative and try to bring Lil Wayne into the whole thing. And then, taking shots at Jay-Z and all that. It's wild. And then low key, you know what I'm saying? Like if you paid attention to, they even trying to come at they even trying to go after the Carters. Hmm. We gotta watch out. We gotta watch for that one. Yeah, because wait for it. Wait for it. Didn't want to really bring any of that other stuff up, but it's not hard to bring up, like, because again, the algorithm, man, be going all over the place, man. And there's all types of topics and subjects. There's all kinds of folks to bring up a lot of these takes and stuff on a lot of things. So it's not hard to actually it's not hard to actually catch what's being said over here or what's being displayed over here and what's all that's in front of your face. It's not hard to catch it all. A lot of stuff going on, especially the music industry. And it's important for artists like them to like just really bring it back to its formation, bring it back to form, pretty much. Like I said, that's why for me, I think it's very important that like artists like Cole and Kendrick need to just be on their like they just need to be on their executive mission. They need to continue doing what they're doing. J.Cole just needs to continue with promoting his what's his brand again? Oh my god. No, I know I didn't forget it. Dream shoot, it's something dreams. Anyway, I'll get back to that. Kendrick Lamar is PG Lang. Yeah. Like, yeah. I think that they just need to continue to do what they're doing. They need to just continue doing what they're doing. That's what I feel like. They need to just continue doing what they're doing. I'm just trying to look up this. Yeah, wait a minute. Dreamville. That's it. My mistake. Dreamville Records. Dreamville. There's a lot of talented artists on that roster too. A lot of talented artists. So I see it as he's really taking the right approach by creating a lane and just focusing on that. And I think that that's what he should do. He should focus on that. He knows how to produce. He knows how to get behind the boards and do his thing. So I think that he should do that. I'm not saying leave rap alone. I'm not saying that at all. Because you can't leave rap alone, right? You can't leave it alone. This is with you. You can't leave rap alone. It's with you. But I think that, the Port Antonio record, I mean, it's so much other things. It's so much layers that I could just pick apart. And maybe we'll do this on another live. I mean, I just really wanted to get on here and just express, I guess, my, internal thoughts on that, internal thoughts on these things, because, I was giving my little take, here and there, but, again, still some things he did not address, and there's some things that he could have left out. He definitely needed to address. He definitely needed to address. He should have addressed. He should have addressed the Drake situation. He should have addressed it. That's what I feel like. He should have addressed it. He should have addressed it. That's what I feel like he should have did. But what you gonna do and say to that? That's for them to that's for them to decide. That's for them to you know deal with and worry about. If you feel like he didn't want to get into certain things and certain stuff wasn't his business, then maybe that's the angle that J. Cole failed to touch on, or whatever. So again, Might get into this some other time, get more into the nuts and bolts, or I just might just leave it here. But that's what's going on. That's my little take on it. Like and subscribe to this channel if you like what you're viewing, and like what you're hearing, like what you witness. So yeah, and drop down. You can also send donations to me via Venmo at I Mosquita. Everything's lowercase. IMESQUITA 82, and that's at I Mosquita 82. All right, all right. That's my time. Love y'all. We will be. Hey, I'm coming back. It might not be on this, but it's gonna be on some other, interesting things. But stay in tune, and I'll catch you back. Catch you back in another time. Peace.